All right, guys, so James Gunn is talking about the DCU post Peacemaker Season 2. He said some interesting things, and I want to read them out, and then I want to talk about them, and I want you to listen to me talk about them. Can you do that for me? Pretty please? Pretty please with a cherry on top? You had that one in your pocket already? The interviewer's talking about that Foxy Shazam song. No, I mean, I knew the song. It was one of my favorite Foxy Shazam songs, and I'm a really truly an enormous fan of the band, but I listened to a lot of different songs to try to figure it out, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. Was I going to use Wigwam's Do You Want to Taste It? Do you really want to taste it again? Was I going to use something else? And it really had the effect that I thought it would, which is at first, everybody was complaining about, oh, I like the old song better. I like the old intro better. And now as we get into the 8th episode, the most common comment I get on threads is, wow, I didn't like it as much at first, but now I like it even more. And it is such an emotional song. It really works in this scene as well. So I gotta say, that is largely how I felt about it. Actually, no, hold on. I'll give myself some more credit. I think I've been consistent on it since the beginning. I think I've always liked the song. I always just felt like, oh, I kind of like that this one is a little more operatic. It's a little more emotional, and it fits with the tone of this season. And yeah, I have seen, to James Gunn's credit, that most people, it feels like, have turned around on the song, and most people appreciate it. So, W for him, I guess. Was it always locked in your head that you would have them perform the song on the show? No, but it was always locked in my head that I was going to use the song at the end of the show. In the same way, there was always this concept that, Do You Want to Taste It has various different meanings, but it ends up being kind of about the blood in Harcourt's mouth at the end of episode 8. And this song would be about the gathering together of these damaged souls in New Team Checkmate. So that was always the plan, that I would use this song. But the idea to put Foxy Shazam in the show was a last-minute addition. I became friends with Eric Nally, the singer of Foxy Shazam, and I was like, you know what? We're going to be shooting Nelson anyway. What if we had just a couple shots of them and the reveal of them at this concert? And really what it all is leading to is the reason the song is playing is because this was the song where Harcourt and Peacemaker fully came together, kind of as boyfriend and girlfriend at the end of the show. So this is where I will criticize James Gunn, because I feel like having both that Nelson band and Foxy Shazam appear in the episode, I think having both of those things happened forced James Gunn to include another unnecessary scene at the boat, which I think actually detracted from the episode. And so I honestly think that he should have just stuck with one or the other. And that was an example of him just wanting to do a favor, I guess, for a friend. And I think it detracted from the show, which I've always defended James Gunn from those claims, right? I don't think that he just casted his wife in Peacemaker because she was his wife. I think she's genuinely great on the show. And so I think her being his wife is a good bonus, obviously, because they get to spend more time together. But I think this isn't an example where James Gunn, doing a favor for his friend, detracted from the show. And the upcoming stuff, the Supergirl movie and the HBO Max show Lanterns. Are you thinking that way about songs? There are songs in both of those things, but I don't give a poopy if there's songs in something or not. For me, I use songs like, listen, Superman to me was a score movie. There's just the one song that is strangely probably the biggest sort of hit song I've had out of a show that wasn't Wigwam. Maybe Come and Get Your Love from the first Guardians. But everybody knew Come and Get Your Love. It was like a rediscovery of a song from a new perspective. So, I mean, that's good, I think. I don't think we need every single project in the DCU to use songs in the way that James Gunn uses songs. I feel like a lot of Hollywood tries to do that. They try to recapture the magic of Guardians. They try to recapture the magic of James Gunn. And I feel like most of the time they just fall flat on their faces. And I mean, that's just like the biggest thing about what I'm looking for from Supergirl and what I'm looking for from Lanterns is I don't want them to be more James Gunn. I like James Gunn. I like James Gunn a lot. But I do want variety in the DCU. And so I hope that those shows will be earnestly different projects. I hope Lanterns earnestly feels like a True Detective show. I hope Supergirl, I guess I could forgive Supergirl if it's a little bit similar to James Gunn's stuff, since it is tangentially related to Superman. But what if it wasn't? What if it was a little less wacky and zany? And obviously, Clayface should feel just like a horror movie and not like a James Gunn movie at all. Regarding the vicious twist at the end of Peacemaker, from what seemed to be a happy ending, first of all, what's wrong with you? James Gunn says, listen, this journey's not done. So that's an interesting thing because, I'll keep on reading a little bit more. Should people expect that thread to be enormous going forward? James Gunn says, yeah. So that is the interesting thing about the end of season 2. Obviously, we see Chris get stranded out in Salvation or whatever. Not that he doesn't think we're going to get a Peacemaker season 3 or that he wasn't planning on it. My question is, when is that getting resolved? I think each project should stand on its own. And James Gunn has said that each project stands on its own. But now if you're telling me that in order for fans of Peacemaker to get the true resolution and conclusion of that series, that they then have to watch some other movie or watch some other show, to me, that's not living up to that promise. To me, that is doing the thing of, that Marvel is trying to get away from, which is having your audience need to do homework. And it left the ending of your season 2 for a lot of people to be unsatisfying. And now it's going to cause other people that watch some other show that does give that conclusion, that's going to give them homework in order to get into that new show. So that is another criticism that I'll give James Gunn, is that from that respect, he doesn't appear, at least with Peacemaker season 2 and whatever future project concludes that storyline, he doesn't seem to be doing that job very well. Since you said you're setting up the semi-sequel to Superman, Man of Tomorrow, should people expect John Cena's fate, Peacemaker's fate, to be addressed in that movie? No. But people should expect that the way that the military and Rick Flag and everybody are working together, and they've created a probably illegal prison for metahumans on another dimension, is going to be a part of DCU stories going forward. And not just a tertiary. Oh, is this Arkham? It's a part of the stories. There's an escalating war, obviously, that's going on between the government and metahumans, and this is part of it. So that's interesting, right? Because it's a good thing that he's not making Peacemaker required homework for Superman. Superman should obviously not necessitate that people watch a niche show based off of a spin-off character from a movie that flopped. But so then I am curious as to when we are going to see that conclusion when we are going to see Chris again. We'll actually get to it later in the article of where that could play into it. And if it happens in that way, then I guess I won't be too mad. So to be clear, you've made a key part of the DCU going forward about a government official abusing their power by having masked thugs come in the middle of the night and expel innocent people from the planet. Grins. It's totally just fiction, Brian. This is like something that can never happen on our planet, but that's the beauty of things like comic books. You can explore things that would never, ever happen in our world. You can't even make a fantastically evil, unrealistic government in the United States anymore. When it is, it just is true that ICE is a group of masked people, and they are just like plucking people coming out of Home Depots and putting them in concentration camps. It's like, you can't even like make a ridiculously evil American government anymore, because it's like we're progressing to that point. I mean, we just are. So I think it's perfectly reasonable for James Gunn to be putting this kind of messaging in his content, because like what is he supposed to do? How much more evil can you get than that? And if getting that evil makes people think about our current government, well, maybe that is something to think about. This thread, will we be seeing this in things like Lanterns and Supergirl, or is this really your arc and not necessarily the larger story? No. Both of those things are worked in. We knew both of those stories were a part of what we originally put together, so they're part of the overall tapestry. But they're also their own thing. Supergirl, especially, is a space adventure. It's like Guardians. Lanterns is its own thing. There's just a longer, sort of a bigger world we're building with all these different pieces, and they do all come together and intersect sometimes in a story fashion, and sometimes just in a, here's another piece of the world fashion. A couple things in there, some things are a little worrying, right? I want other projects in the DCU to feel like their own thing tonally, right? I want Lanterns to feel like a True Detective show. But I do still want it to tie into the overarching story. I want all these different corners of the world to have their own tonally different feel. So I like those comments from Gunn. I truly hope that he's able to live up to that promise. And that's going to be the thing about Supergirl, right? Where it's like, okay, we've now had 3 James Gunn projects in a row. I think a lot of us are really hoping that Supergirl can feel different. And James Gunn saying that it's like Guardians, that is a little concerning. Now, maybe he means that it's like Guardians in just the sense that it's a space adventure film and that it will still feel like substantively different than Guardians. I hope that's what he means. Are there other big arcs for this phase? Yeah, Lanterns is really important in setting up things. So, obviously, we have this overarching arc of the war between metahumans and the government. We have this whole thing of them putting metahumans in salvation. So apparently he's saying that there are going to be other interconnecting elements of the world too. And apparently we're going to see those in Lanterns. People are wondering, by the way, if James Mangold's just announced deal means that the Swamp Thing movie he was planning for you is dead. James Gunn answers, no, it doesn't. No. So you're hopeful on that still. Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. Even in text, that doesn't sound so sure. We've talked to him. He's still invested, so we'll see. Some things take a long time. We'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, the reality is that whole initial slate that he did, you know, I mean, I've said this so many times, but I'll continue to say it when it's relevant. That whole slate announcement was just obviously a mistake. We still haven't seen The Authority. We still haven't seen Brave and the Bold. We still haven't seen Paradise Lost. We still haven't seen Waller. We still haven't seen Booster Gold. Those like big slates are just not a good idea because what he said is true. Things change, but things don't need to have changed publicly if you didn't announce those things. Are you going to announce a Checkmate show with the new team formed at the end of the season? Or are we just left to wonder how this is going to carry forward? We'll find out as time goes on. It's a mystery. So that could be a good avenue, right? To conclude the story that's being told in Peacemaker without necessarily making it homework for some other project, right? If you don't do a Peacemaker season 3, but you do like a Checkmate show, or you make like a Waller show, and that essentially picks up from the conclusion of Peacemaker, and it's essentially a continuation of Peacemaker, that could work. And I could see that being a valid way of, you know, not making Peacemaker season finale be completely unsatisfying. So we'll see where they go where they go with that. Poor Chris, poor Peacemaker. That planet he's on doesn't sound so uninhabited. There's something moaning in the background. Doesn't sound good, does it? There was a comic series called Salvation Run, so the story is very different, but that's where the concept is from. And so there's some of those elements are definitely a part of the future. I don't know what that storyline is. I don't feel like looking it up because I don't necessarily want to spoil things for myself. I'd rather just consume things as they come. But you can feel free to let me know if there's anything interesting about it in the comments down below. So yeah, that's the article. At the end of the day, I've seen a lot of people. I feel like there's a little Chicken Littling going on right now where, like, after the end of Peacemaker, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, DC Studios is ruined. James Gunn, he wasn't fit to do the job, blah, 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 blah. And here's the thing. If you earnestly do not like all or the vast majority of the stuff that James Gunn has done, then it is perfectly reasonable for you to have that opinion, right? You know, if you didn't like The Penguin, if you didn't like Creature Commandos, if you didn't like Superman, if you didn't like Peacemaker Season 2, that's totally fair. Personally, I love The Penguin. I like Creature Commandos. I really like Superman. Really enjoyed Peacemaker Season 2. I'm not going to let a lackluster season finale make me not excited for the future of the DCU, make me not excited for the future of DC Studios, and start calling for the firing of James Gunn. I don't think that, at least based off of, for me, and what I've enjoyed so far, that's just not really a logical reaction to have. And B, Peacemaker Season 2 just isn't that important of a project, I don't think. You know, like, if he, like, really messed up Superman, that would be one thing. If he really messes up Wonder Woman, that's going to be another thing. If he really messes up Brave and the Bold and it completely falls flat on its face and two Batman at the same time don't work, that's going to be one thing. A lackluster season finale to a niche show that not that many people watch, I just don't think that it's as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. But let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.